Welcome to season 6 of the Breakthrough Show, Breakthroughs Around the World. We are inviting you to conversations with 40 guests from 40 different countries, acknowledging our similarities, honoring our differences, and celebrating our connection. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, the creator of the Breakthrough Show Network. And for season 6, episode 1, I am so proud, excited, and honored to welcome a previous guest onto the show today. She's the author of Poems with Soul, the founder of Positivity Parlor, narcissistic abuse survivor, and a person I am so honored to call my friend. Please welcome back to the show, Katarzyna Stomska. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here.
I am thrilled to have you back. This is an all new sort of setup we have here, so I'm really excited about this. And I'm thrilled that you are our premier guest today, which was a surprise to you as we
Yes,
were
indeed,
talking.
was a surprise, but a very happy surprise in it.
Yes. Well, we wouldn't have it any other way. So I would like to start off because you are representing Scotland today. I would love for you to start by sharing with our audience what makes Scotland special to you.
That's a very hard question, but at the same time, it's a very easy one to answer. Scotland is special for me because that is the country where I found home. That is the country where I found myself, and that is also the place where I can really honestly say I grew up and I matured too, and I became the person I am today.
Mm. I love that. I love that. What is your favorite place to go in Scotland?
Hmm. It's my recent favorite. I visited that place last year when my friend was over, and that is the Seamill Beach. And but my absolute favorite could should would be the place where I started my journey in Scotland. That's a very small village. I think it's like 200 residents, and it's
Wow.
called Craignure. It's called Craignure on the Isle of Mull, which is the Hebrides. Because
Mm.
Scotland, you might not know, has about 72 different islands belonging to it. So
Wow. I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that it had that many islands, but I was not the best at geography, so I have a feeling this whole season is going to be challenging for me to try to figure out in my
just
head.
learn, you learn a lot.
That's it. That's it. It's an educational show here on the Breakthrough Show Network. So I am very excited to dig in next to some of your breakthroughs because we've talked about some different things on the show before, but I'm thrilled to dig in with you a little further today. So, Kat, you talked about embracing the unknown, learning true independence, and really finding home. I guess I want to start out by asking you, what does home mean to you? When someone says, "Where is your home?" What does that mean?
A home for me means not necessarily where, I am physically, like a physical building, so to speak.
Mm.
Home to me means a place where I can be fully myself, where I feel comfortable talking about the things that matter to me, where I know that even if I choose to talk about controversial topics, some people will accept that I have an opinion about something and they will still show respect enough respect for me to, to just be me. This is a country where this is the country where I found, where I was able to wear what I wanted. Nobody
Mm,
really seemed to care that much about, what I was wearing, how I was presenting myself, what I was eating or how I was eating. To some people these could be, these are very, mundane things, but to me they meant a lot, because a lot of the time in my life these were the things I wasn't able to do, like, or I was told to follow certain rules. And I think a lot of us, from a very young age, are told to follow certain rules, and
mm,
regulations, and you know be kind of in that box which society created. So, home means that I am able to either create my own box, which is like no major rules, everything is allowed within reason. Although, to be honest, the older I get, the less reasons, there are really. And, it's generally a place where I can just be me and show
mm,
whatever I want to show. And I'm the one who rules what's allowed, So that's what
right.
I've always, that's what I feel here,
Right.
for the
And I
last
know
16
you've
years.
lived in other countries as well, Kat. Has that been a big difference to you living in Scotland? Like the ability to be yourself. You mentioned about dressing how you want and things like that. Do you feel like you can be more yourself in Scotland than you were in other countries?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And that I didn't realize how much that actually meant, and how important it was, and what
Mm,
sort of impact it had on my mental health and my physical health. You know, I felt a lot lighter. I didn't have that particular l- so sort of emotional baggage, if you know what I mean, on my
right.
shoulders, knowing that I could go to a shop and find clothes, whether that be crop tops, or, I didn't have to go to a designer shop, or have to go to, somebody to make clothes for me. I could
Mm,
just literally go to a shop and browse, something in my size. And I didn't really bother with the fact that, in each shop, so in one shop I could be size 18, in another shop I would need to buy, something in two sizes bigger. You know,
yeah.
what was really important was the fact that even the ability to be able to buy clothes in my size without being told, oh, we actually don't do clothes in your size. You'll need to go, and source the fabric, and you know and
Mm,
you know so, even shopping and things like that became a lot
mm,
more significant, if you know what I mean,
right.
to
Right.
since I started living here.
I'm curious because it sounds very much like you found a sense of freedom. And I wonder how much of that was the physical location of where you are, or is it maybe a combination of also finding freedom for yourself inside of you at the same time?
hmm I think, taking just location wise, I found it's a lot easier to travel from here. Like, I've seen a lot more of my friends since I've been living here. And I'm talking about those friends who are also abroad. It was much easier. It seems to be much easier to see them while I'm here than when I was living in Poland, where I grew up.
Mm,
And it's also a big part of my freedom and the sense of freedom. It's definitely the fact that I left everything and everyone I know behind me, and I put myself in a position where I've not only been in a different country. There is different people, like a different culture, and I just embraced it. I kind of knew that if I want to make a living and I really wanted to make it work, I will need to embrace myself as much as possible, and I needed
mm,
to be open to actually explore. And I think this was one of the things which I was missing. I'm not saying that while I was growing up in Poland, my life was boring.
Right.
because that's where I learned my fluency in English,
Mm.
so to speak. Because my English teacher used to be an American guy from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And but this was the very first, coming here and moving here and settling here was, I initially wanted to stay for like 3 to 6 months. And what do I know? 16 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And in a lot of aspects, Scotland is similar to Poland. Like the
Mm.
hospitality of people, like the generosity and the way people approach life is a lot more, and the landscape are a lot similar. But
Mm.
my freedom was like nobody was there to tell me, oh, you can't go here. You need to do this first, or like you need to have a set routine, like, or you need to check with this person or that person. I knew that the
Right.
only person I could technically rely on was me, because
Mm.
when I came over here, I didn't have any friends. I literally came with a job I found through a external agency, which was looking, which was helping people to get job abroad, and that was it. And I
Mm.
actually found, I took the first offer. I had the opportunity to take one of three offers, and I accepted the first one. And little did I know that I actually ended up on an island, close to the Scottish mainland. But still, so my travel time was like 2.5 days between
Mm.
the time I left Poland till the time I actually, got to my destination.
Right.
So yeah, in that sense, definitely there is sense of freedom, within me, because I was like free from all the rules. And I was, like I said,
Mm.
you know, a few minutes ago, I became the ruler of, and the person who was putting the rules. So if
Mm.
I didn't want to, I don't know, if I didn't want to drink a green smoothie, I didn't. If I wanted to have a, I don't know, the Scottish breakfast, I had it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What's really interesting to me is we have a couple guests coming on this season who are representing a country that they were not born in. They didn't live there their whole lives, but yet they felt so loved and honored and accepted in the country that they came to, that that's the country that they are, that they're in now, and that they're representing, such as yourself. So that really gives me hope, because we have so many places in the world and so many people in the world that don't feel accepted where they are. But I do feel, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk about finding this freedom within yourself as well, because I feel like it can't all be dependent on your external location, your circumstances, or where you are. That if there's something going on outside of us, a lot of times it's because there's work that needs to be done inside of us. And
mhm,
that's where I think a lot of our big breakthroughs come from.
mhm.
What do you feel like has been your biggest breakthrough since you've been in Scotland?
I think it's the fact that I realized I am a risk taker. I have I have never really acknowledged how much courage leaving everything behind actually is required to do such a move. And for a lot of people, that will a lot of people find it extremely inspirational. Whereas for a lot of my time in Scotland, I actually felt like, I've just moved countries. I just decided to travel. It wasn't at the very beginning a big deal to me, and I didn't see it that way. Even the
Mhm.
simple fact that I came here with fluent English, and still it took me about a year and a half to really, embrace the Scottish culture, the
Mm.
language, the fact that, for example, s- the language some people would class as swearing, or bad words,
Yeah.
is part of the culture here. This
Yeah.
is how people here express themselves, express certain emotions like anger, frustration. And to a lot of my friends, when I visited, Poland, and I had, a catch up with them, and I did maybe use certain language a lot more than I used to, were like, are you really sure? living in Scotland, is that beneficial to you? Because we miss the card beforehand, and I'm like, but I don't, because
Yeah.
that is why I think that's what helped me really get connected to people around here,
Mm,
around here, to local people, because I was very curious. I
mm,
asked lots of questions, and some people were really, really, really fed up, like, telling me, to be quiet a lot of the time, and I couldn't. Like, there is still one part of me, or like one part of the language I can't do, and it's like, unless somebody writes something down for me,
mm,
if I hear it, I cannot write in Scottish, and trust
mm.
me, it's different. When I first came over here, and I landed in Scotland, like, I came by coach, and I actually came out of the coach in Glasgow, and I heard people speak, especially with the, Glaswegian slang. Sorry, I actually thought somebody abducted me and took me to a completely different country.
Yeah.
I'm like, people were supposed to talk in English here, and
Right.
all I hear is anything else but English. Everything else but English, and I'm like, do I really want to do it? And then I realized that I had one-way ticket. So
Yeah.
whether I really wanted it or not, I was kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad I stuck. I
Yeah.
stuck around. So
Yeah, I imagine that even when we find things that we really love about a country and we choose to um, be all a part of the culture, that occasionally you might find things that are very different or very outside of your comfort zone, or like you talked about the language, and I find that so funny because that really here, house to house is so different. Where I had a lot of kids that I grew up with that, in the States here, that would have never, like, their parents would have never uttered a curse word in front of them. Whereas our house might be a little bit different. My house growing up was definitely very different than that. And we use very colorful words to describe things. And so it's very different. But when you find yourself in those situations where you are out of your comfort zone and maybe um something doesn't feel right to you or whatever it is, how do you sort of process that? I guess is my question of like, because I think we're very quick these days to take offense to things as opposed to understanding this may just be part of their culture. Like, how do you process that when you come across something that makes you uncomfortable?
like, I, possibly because I know I have fluency in English,
Mhm.
I wasn't the one to maybe experienced a lot of offensive language thrown at me, or a lot of offensive remarks, kind of directed at me personally.
Right.
But I do get, it doesn't mean that I didn't hear them.
Mm.
And I think I try and use the way and the fact that I can speak English in a way that I'm educating people. Like, one thing which really used to make me mad at the very beginning was when people used to tell me that, and some people still believe it, that Poland is Eastern European country, where I don't know what kind of map you would have to take to
Mm.
actually see that Poland isn't in Eastern Europe. Poland is
Yeah.
right in the center of Europe.
Uh,
So yeah, that I used to be really, and I don't actually even know why it used to make me so mad.
wow.
Maybe, uh, and then I realized that if I look where in the position of Scotland or UK in general, like on the any atlas or on any world map, yes, I can understand, or I started understanding why they are treating Poland and like Latvia and Lithuania and Belarus as Eastern European countries,
Mm.
because technically speaking, yes, it is more to the east, than it is to the center.
Mm.
But it's the same, it's the same to me. If I was to put myself in Poland, I would say that UK is in Western Europe.
Right.
It's not necessarily, and or another thing which was really, which I find absolutely hilarious is when they serve breakfast in a lot of restaurants in the UK or in Scotland, they call it a continental breakfast.
Mm.
And I'm like, how can it be a continental breakfast if it's an island? I mean, are you for real? Are you for real?
Okay, so you need to tell me what is in a continental breakfast then, because we have something I'll explain here when you tell me what a continental breakfast is there.
Now, they call it like continental breakfast. The way I was served was uh, scrambled eggs,
Uh-huh.
which by the way are made with milk, which is like totally,
Uh-huh.
like something, totally out of my I would say that is more of comfort, out of my comfort zone.
How do you
What
how do
else?
you make egg? How did you make eggs before? Like, did you put water in it or anything at all?
No, no. I just
Nothing?
put butter.
Oh, butter.
I
Okay.
literally, yeah, melted butter, and I put, like, I don't know, spring onions, or I just put eggs and I
Yeah.
mix it in I fry it until it's set. But
Right.
Scottish people call it an omelette, and I'm like, it's
Right.
not an
Okay.
omelette.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
is not an omelette because you don't flip it. Unlike other people, I don't flip it over. I think I'm going to send you a few pictures, and you can share it
Yes.
with your
Yes,
audience,
I will.
so we can, But that's, they call it. What else was in my continental breakfast? There was jam, like
Mhm.
different kind of jam, and toast, and I'm like, that is not that is not what I would call continental breakfast.
That's
I'm
really
like,
funny.
that is normal. That is normal. That is normal. Normal breakfast.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah.
continental breakfast, when you come to a hotel in the United States, a lot of the hotels will say that they either have a continental breakfast or a full breakfast, like a hot breakfast.
Mhm,
Continental breakfast is like they'll put out different pastries,
mhm.
toast, bagels, fruit, apples, like things that are grab and go kind of
Uh-huh.
things. There's nothing like
Yeah.
that's a hot meal. But
Mhm,
when you get a hotel that has a hot breakfast, that's when you get like the eggs, the sausage, the waffles, and things like that. They get all kinds of things in the hot breakfast.
mhm.
But continental breakfast is like cold things like cereal,
Yeah.
toast,
Mhm.
juice, milk,
Yeah.
those
Mhm.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that's what's funny to me. Calling
Mhm.
it the only people that use that phrase really here are hotels.
Mhm.
So that's interesting.
Whereas I've heard it not just in hotels. I've heard it
Right.
in many places.
Yeah.
But the idea in general. So these are just some examples, and like from the really like harsher examples, of what I dealt with was, you know being you know being asked, for example, if I came, how many jobs I took
Mm.
from the Scottish people by being here, or why don't I go back to where I'm from. And I'm like, why?
Mm.
Just like there is many Scottish people traveling to Poland, especially for like hen do's and stag do's, because the alcohol in Poland is a lot cheaper, meaning you can get a lot more for your money. uh, just to give you a rough idea, for every 1 pound you get like 5 zlotys. So if
Mm.
something costs, I don't know, you have a bottle of vodka could cost 30 zloty, which is a lot for Polish people, but for a Scottish or British person, that would be what 6 pounds.
Right.
See, if vodka was 6 pounds in here, I tell you, I'm not, I would be worried how many people would actually drink vodka instead of whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, how has the Scottish culture impacted your work, the work that you do? Do you feel like it would be different, your poetry, your, anything that you're doing with your positivity parlor? Do you feel like it would be different if you were elsewhere, or do you feel like the Scottish culture has impacted you in a positive way or in any kind of way?
I think because I feel such a connection, and this is where I found myself, in a way, I haven't felt, out of all the places I've lived, I haven't felt that connected to anywhere. Really. Like some of my friends wonder why I don't miss living in Poland, and they still wonder if I ever go back, if I'll ever go back.
Mm,
And I used to say that unless something major happens, I would consider going back to Poland. But
yeah.
right now, I would probably go I would probably go elsewhere in the world
Mm,
rather than going to Poland, because the
mm,
reality is so much different.
right.
I I miss Scotland. Like I can last maybe 3 weeks in Poland, but after 3 weeks, that's me. I
Yeah.
miss going, I miss my house. Like I miss the places around, the places I know, and I never, I never believed that I will say that I miss the language. Like
Mm,
I'm not saying that Polish people, because they can be funny, like they are equally funny. Like the sense of humor is similar,
mm,
but I think in general the language is a lot deeper. Like, and there is so much, like when you have, because you are also good at singing, so
mhm,
you would relate to it. Like every singer has a special. It's not so much the tone of their voice, but
right.
singers have different kind of voice, and some can be very, very unique voices. And I
Mm,
find that in Scotland, pretty much you know, some places have really, really deep, deep slang. And it's, to the point that I'm like, how, what are you talking about?
right.
I've been 16 years in here and I can't get it. And then some people would go, you know what, to be honest, we don't get it. And there is one particular song which I was kind of emotional today, earlier on when I was at work, because January in general is a big, big, big month in Scotland, because they are celebrating, Robbie Burns, which is, the most famous Scottish poet.
Mm,
And they have a special meal, and children a lot of the time do like special performances where it's like Scottish songs and Scottish poems. And there is one particular song which I heard at the very first day when I came over here. I had no clue what that song said. Because it's in a very deep Scottish slang,
mm,
and honestly, it was like, what? How can that even be a song?
yeah,
And I used to laugh because I just couldn't understand it.
yeah.
And today, the children I worked with were practicing, for their performance, and the teacher actually selected that song.
Mm,
And for the first time, I actually heard it, and I'm like, I now know. I might not be able to write in Scottish, but I now understand. Not just when people talk around me, but I actually now understand the older, Scottish music, when people really, really use, some kind of specific Scottish words,
mm,
and I'm like, that was a breakthrough in itself, because
right.
I kept questioning myself, and I'm actually, a lot of the time, I'm asking, local people and my colleagues, like, when will I finally be able to talk Scottish? And they go, some of us live here all our life, and we don't know how to properly speak Scottish. So
Yeah.
the answer might be never. The answer might be never. But I do have a few friends where I actually, when they write, sometimes they will write a message in Scottish. So I sometimes need to use Google,
Yeah.
or kind of try and guess. Okay, what if I reply this or that? Like a perfect example of that is the word "we." like
Mm.
not necessarily, meaning, one of the body fluids as such, but we means small. It's
Oh,
written
yes.
exactly the same way.
Right.
It's written exactly the same way, but we means small.
Mm.
And I remember, like wins spelled Wean. That's children in
Right.
Scottish. Like, so
Oh.
it's like, eh, so, a lot of the time when I hear words, I'm like, I talk about something, and then some people would go, what? Like can is no.
Mm.
Like if you say to someone, I can, it's not that you are, the partner of a Barbie doll.
Right.
You let them know that what they are talking about.
Right.
So it took a lot, it took a lot for me to kind of adjust. This was the adjustment I needed to do. A lot
Mm.
of phrases used in Scottish language are not necessarily, they mean something totally different if they are written in a dictionary, and something totally different if they use them in a special context, like, being called pal,
Mm.
rather than, or a mate rather than a friend.
Right.
Or, being my favorite is when somebody hasn't seen me in a while and they go, are you okay, hen? And I'm like, the first response to that question was, my response was, do I look like I'm laying eggs? This is how people here knew I wasn't born. I wasn't, I was kind of, from a foreign country.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I must admit, a lot of people laugh. And that's what probably gave me the good experience.
Mm.
Because a lot of people, rather than slugging me off thinking, what is she doing here? She shouldn't be here. They
Right.
actually laughed and carried on and actually gave me some advice, telling me, not this is how you reply to this question, next time
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
actually, talks to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of learning, and I think I should write. I'm kind of gearing up towards, writing my Scottish adventures. Would probably be a
Yeah.
hit with some people, but then unless you live or experienced Scotland, you wouldn't have had a clue.
Mm, very true. Very true. Well, I'm so glad that you've been able to share your perspective today, and especially one where you've lived in several places and are able to give a really beautiful view of Scotland, but also share the differences because you have lived in other places, to other places that you've lived before. So I'm excited to dig in a little bit to what you're up to and where people can find you. And also, we have 10 quick fire questions for you that we are using across the board on all our episodes this season to learn how to acknowledge our similarities, honor our differences, and celebrate our connection. So we will do that coming up next. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. We are back now with Kat Stomska, and I am super excited to present to you our 10 quickfire questions. Are you ready?
I think so. Let's see. Let's
All
go.
right. We are going to go through these as quick as we can. We'll see how many we can get in the next 5 minutes. Here we go. Number one, what is your morning beverage of choice?
Dandelion root tea
All right. When are you most productive?
in the evening,
Okay. Which season is your favorite?
winter.
What is something you're learning right now?
Um, I'm learning calligraphy.
Oh, very nice. What were your best and worst subjects in school?
Worst physics, best geography.
Very ni Oh, I'm gonna have you host then. What scares you?
Um, heights,
Mm,
especially the breaks between stairs. You know those stairs where you can see you. There is this. There are the spaces between the flaps.
yes.
I
Yes.
can. I am scared. I can go very high, but as long as it's no spaces between the
Yeah.
steps, I'm fine.
All right. Have you ever been in love?
Oh, I. Oh, I.
Yes. What inspires you?
People,
People. I love that. How do you enjoy your downtime?
writing, poetry, and reading.
Very good. And lastly, which culture do you deeply respect and or want to learn more about other than your own?
Japanese.
Mm, I love that. I love that. Well, you listen, you're a pro. We're going to see how the rest of the season goes if we're able to get in all 10 quick. I don't know that I could do it cuz I tend to be long-winded. But you did
I
it.
said.
You did it.
I said I'm ready for the
Yeah.
challenge.
That's it. You were here from it. That's awesome. Well, I would love to hear about what you have going on in your world right now, Kat, and what you're working on in 2022.
So in 2022, I am hopefully going to be publishing another two books. I've got
Yes.
one which was supposed to be published, but you know that way when you keep adding to it because it just flows.
Hmm.
So right, so that's one poetry book, and then I'm writing my story, which is taking its time, but it's gonna be it's gonna be good. And
I love
then
it.
I have a few exciting projects when it comes to my sort of business work.
Hmm.
I've been working on a project where I want to teach people, especially narcissistic abuse survivors, on how to use poetry and writing in general to go through the trauma
Hmm.
of abuse. I've been working on it for a while, and I'm hoping it will be. It's not that I'm hoping it will be done. It will be launched in 2022. It's just a matter
Beautiful.
of when, because I am going. I'm doing it intuitive style. So
Hmm.
when when it's time, it's time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I love everything that you put out there. You're always so encouraging to people and positive, and you share a very real and raw side of your life. But also, uh, you know, you keep it like it's always like, but I've learned this and I found the joy in this, and it's been a real inspiration to me to watch your journey as I've done Project Joy and other shows on this network, because it's not always easy to be on, and when you're going through your own stuff and you're still supposed to show up as this light in the world, and you do a really beautiful job of balancing that out. So I want to congratulate you on that,
thank you,
the work that you're
thank you.
doing,
That's
Kat.
that's really lovely to hear, and I really feel humbled. Like anytime I receive any comments, in regards to what I do. My motto has always been, and that's very similar to a lot of people. If I can help one person, by spreading just one word, or one compliment, that is, my job is done for the day. So
Mm. I love it. I love it. Well, I know that your Instagram is fantastic, and I would love people to go follow you there. So you can check out Kat's Instagram. It's instagram.com/Katarzyna Stomska. We're going to put it on the screen for you just a second here. But tell us, Kat, what people can find over there when they go to your Instagram.
So they can find a few highlights when it comes to the things I've done or the things I've been up to. So there is a special highlight for my poems where people can get familiar with my work. There is a link to my merchandise with Positivity Parlor and also my book. And there is from the older stuff, there is some nice recipes, which by the way are coming back as they've been requested by so many people. And yeah, you can, this is me basically on my Instagram. What you see, it's the way I show up, in everyday life. So this is not just a highlight reel, this is just my life. So
I love it. I love it. You definitely are a shining light in the world, Kat, and we appreciate everything that you're putting out there in the world. I would love to finish by asking you one question, and that is, what do you hope to see for your future?
I see myself as being an international award-winning author
Mm,
and an advocate for, children who are survivors of narcissistic abuse, as I have seen not just with my own children, but I have seen how much impact that kind of abuse or domestic abuse in general has on children, and how undetected it goes, and how much more awareness is needed, uh, in that respect. And I would love to be a bigger advocate for children's, mental health in general, as
mm,
working with children every day between the ages of 3 to 12.
mm,
I see a lot of things and a lot of struggle, and a lot of taboo topics, whether that be, periods, bullying, body positivity, or, you know, being, struggling with, their body image. It's
mm.
actually really heartbreaking at times. So I'll do my absolute best to, to raise awareness, awareness of or around the things I've seen and the things I want people to notice.
Right,
Also, as an
right.
as an educator.
I
So
love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for coming back on the show today. It is always a pleasure to have you here. And I'm so glad we're having some of our past guests back because we've never gotten to really dig into culture and,
mhm.
questions about where everybody is because we're so focused on other things. And I'm so thrilled that we have the opportunity to go on this little journey this year to 40 different countries. And thank you for so beautifully representing Scotland today.
Thank you so much. I am really, really, really excited to actually learn about other countries and, learn about, cultural experiences, because that's something I've always been a big fan of, learning about different places, especially when there is so many places to discover.
Yes.
And one of the themes for 2022 for me is travel, so is to travel more. So who knows?
Yes, at minimum, we can virtually travel this year
Yes,
through
yes,
through the
exactly.
Breakthrough Show season 6. Well, thank you so much again, Kat, for being
Thank you
here
very
today. It
much.
was a pleasure. All right, you guys, it has been another fantastic episode today. I want to remind you of a couple things. You can join our text community in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico by texting the word breakthrough to 256 685 7092. That's 256 685 7092. If you are international or you don't want to receive text messages, you can join our Discord community from anywhere in the world by going to bit.ly/Discord breakthrough. That's bit.ly/Discord breakthrough. I want to give a big thank you to every single one of you for watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. I also want to remind you to visit our guests on Instagram, instagram.com/Katarzyna Stomska. And be sure to check her out, follow her, and get your hands on her book, Poems with Soul. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to thank you so much for being here today. I want to remind you to tune in each and every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time to learn about the different countries and cultures we're going to be featuring on season 6 of the Breakthrough Show. Coming up next week, we have Eyvindur Karlsson representing Iceland. So we're super excited about that. Join us each and every week to acknowledge our similarities, honor our differences, and celebrate our connection. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to make every day a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.